Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Nural and I'm here with another Unlock Photography video today, and I will be talking about film swaps. Here in Finland, like the rest of the world, we've been social distancing and sort of acting like we're in quarantine for the past couple of weeks. And after a while, it becomes quite boring. And you miss hanging out with your friends and you miss doing stuff with them. And if you're an analog photography enthusiast, you might actually miss taking photos with your friends, going out and shooting together. So if that's the case, this project is just for you. It allows you to take photos with your friends without actually being near them. So how this works is when you're doing a film swap, you use a roll of film first, rewind it, and I've done this with myself. So you can actually set it aside to use at a later date, or you can send it out to a friend, a fellow unlock photographer, to take photos on top of yours. And it always creates interesting results. And the trick to this is, for one thing, if you want your photos to be exactly on top of each other, you can mark your film when you're loading it. So I actually showed this to you in my exposing both sides video, which I'm going to be linking up there, because it is basically similar process, because in film swap you do multiple exposures at different times and with different photographers. And like the EBS process, if you mark your film, the photos will be overlapping each other exactly. So what you need to do is, if you want the photos to be exactly on top of each other, when you're loading your film, you can mark it here where it comes off. And you can also mark the first notch that comes in here. So when your friend loads the film into his or her camera, or when you load it yourself a second time, you know where to exactly start so that it all lines up. That is one trick, which in all of my film swaps with myself or all over the world, basically, I never did. And so what I usually do is just don't mark the film, which ends up being like a long mixture of images that you never know where to cut from or how to scan, but it ends up being fabulous. And so that's one trick. If you want them to overlap, mark your film. If you don't mark your film. The second thing that's important to this is, it is important to any multi-exposure actually. If you're using 100 ISO film, you need to treat it as 200 ISO film. So if you have a camera like the LCA where you can just dial it up, you can just set it to 200, which will let half the light into the camera than this requires. So when you shoot it a second time, it's gonna get exactly that much amount of light, which will end up being the correct exposure for this film. And if you don't have a camera like this, what you can do is change your shutter speed or aperture. And so if your camera suggests, or if you think that you should shoot with like 250th of a second, you can move it up to 500th of a second. Or if you want to shoot at f8, you can move it up to f16. So you just end up shooting it one aperture or shutter speed less than what should be, which will then end up exposing your film less. And then the second time it is exposed, that will balance things out. And I actually did this, like I said, with myself. I shot photos during one vacation and didn't develop the film, and shot on top of it in another vacation. So literally combining two different cities and two different countries into one photo. And I did this with other photographers. So I did this with people from Singapore, Germany, United States. What I do is I just shoot it, rewind it, and ship it out, or they ship a film to me, and at the end we get a mixture of two different cultures basically on top of a single roll of film. And let me just show you some examples to make it more clear. In these weird times, I hope that this process sounds exciting to you and gives you a break from all the reality basically that is around us. And if you want to give film swapping a chance, you can always do it with yourself and set aside one of your rolls and shoot it at a later date. Or you can send it to a fellow photographer that will shoot on top of your photos. Or you can always send it to me, and I would be happy to take a little walk outside and shoot some photos myself. So I hope that this has been fun for you and you give it a try. And if you do, just let me know in the comments. And also, if you have any questions, just drop me a line and I'll get back to you. And just a little reminder, if you haven't done so yet, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button. I'll be here next week. See ya!